Good evening, all. And AIMA, thank you so much for this good fortune for me to share this day with such stars in the galaxy here. But more importantly, to also share the stage with my North Star, my guru, my idol, and also my role model, Dr. Mashelkar. Thank you for making this happen for me.
Thank you very much. Innovation is all about doing things differently. And rarely one talks about the person who is going to interview you. So, Sushil, your last interview, the two of them, one was with Vishwanathan Anand, and the one was with the Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi. And I'm the third one, so I really feel privileged. I will mention that to start with.
Thanks to Mukesh Bhai and you. We have done 52 such interviews with iconic achievers, just to bring out the inspiration quotient from their life, work, and experiences. And you mentioned Kailash ji. In fact, on stage, he mentioned, and he called you his older brother, but he also called you a saint and a scientist. And I think he was right, because his entire message was that compassion has to be the tool for transformation. And if you look at your life, you have, in my mind, if I can call it that, I think you have done compassionate science for the benefit of all. And that is why I think he's right. And possibly that is how AIMA sees your life's work, and that is how you're getting honored today with this excellent award in public service. But in 1998, you also received the GRD Tata Corporate Leadership Award. And we were a little surprised, because at that time you were at the helm of science and technology, not only in India, but globally. You were considered one of the best scientists in India and in the world. You were winning all sorts of science awards. And then the GRD Tata Corporate Leadership Award in 1998. Can you put this in perspective for us, please?
Yes. First of all, I must thank AIMA for this wonderful honor now and also 25 years ago, around 1998. And there are multiple reasons for that. And I'll explain where compassion comes in. Because I saw the impact of compassion very early in my age. GRD Tata Corporate Leadership Award, the name Tata has a special significance as far as I am concerned. I was born in a very poor family in a village called Mashel. My father died when I was 6. My mother was illiterate. She brought me to Mumbai. She was in search of a job, and she would do whatever came her way. 2 meals a day was a challenge. I remember many a night I've gone hungry. I walked barefoot until I was 12. I studied under street light. All the adversities you can imagine. And then a miracle happened when during secondary school certificate exam, I stood 11th among 135,000 students in Maharashtra state. And I got Sir Dorabji Tata scholarship. That is when I was introduced to Tatas. But what they did was not just write a check for 60 rupees. They tried to make a man out of a monkey. Coming from such background, I had no manners, I couldn't speak properly, I had studied in Marathi. And they did a lot for me. And they would take us to museums to show our culture, heritage. And very early in those days, they also introduced us to GRD Tata. Mm-hmm. I was that little, and I was looking at that iconic figure. And therefore, if somebody had told me that a few decades down the line, you will get the GRD Tata Corporate Leadership Award, I would have been surprised. That was also something special. In a couple of years later, I remember President was K.R. Narayanan, late K.R. Narayanan, and he awarded Padma Bhushan to me and Ratan Tata at the same time, one after the other. That was a miracle. You understand? Once again, it was considered as impossible. So that 60 rupees scholarship, which came out of, people call it compassionate capitalism, as far as enterprises are concerned, I would say it is compassionate humanism, you know. Because of that, I got that scholarship, and today I'm sort of sitting here. So my learnings were very early on how I got into it, to respond to your question.
And if I'm not wrong, President K.R. Narayanan was also a Tata scholar?
Yeah. I must mention that. K.R. Narayanan was also very poor in terms of his background. He walked a few kilometers. In fact, Sushil, because his parents could not afford tuition fee, he would stand outside the class and take notes.
Wow.
And then he got the Tata scholarship, and then the rest of the world opened, and he became sort of president. So it was rather interesting, ladies and gentlemen, that a Tata scholar honored Ratan Tata with a Padma Bhushan and a Tata scholar with a Padma Bhushan at the same time. That is the power of compassionate giving.
And in 1998, you also got inducted as FRS, Fellow of Royal Society, which is, I believe, one level below the Nobel Prize in Science. Can you put that in perspective? Because 1998 seems to be...
Yeah. 1998 was a very special year for me. You know, those of you who are scientists will understand this immediately, but those who are not, let me explain. The highest science award is Nobel Prize, but it is given for chemistry, it is given for physics and physiology and medicine, etc. For engineering, there is none. Engineering science in particular. So the highest award is Fellowship of Royal Society, FRS. And in 364 years so far, there have been only 3 engineering scientists who have got it. One was Professor Rodam Narsiva, he is no more. Another one is Professor Sharma, my own guru. And third was actually myself. And you sign in the same book, by the way, where Newton has signed, in the same way that he did when he signed. So it's a special honor, I would say. I got that in 1998. I got the J.R.D. Tata Corporate Leadership Award. But one of the big achievements was about CSIR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, is a chain of 40 laboratories. And when I took it over, it was in a bit of a disarray. No 2 labs will talk to each other and so on and so forth. And the kind of transformation that we did is now rated among the top 10 best achievements in the 20th century of Indian science and technology, because the transformation was really sort of phenomenal. That happened on 11 May 1998, when we had 40 directors of national labs signing a Bangalore Declaration, all 40 of them, saying India matters to us, we want to matter to India more. And as it turned out, on 11 May, there were 2 other technological events. The one was, of course, our small plane that took off on that day, and the second was DRDO achievement, and the third was, as you know, the Pokhran 2. And I remember mentioning to our Honorable Prime Minister Atalji, while he was giving away the awards, why don't we call it a technology day? And it became a technology day. So 1998 was significant for me. And the fourth one, as many of you must have heard, I have fought for traditional knowledge getting its rightful place, because the current patent system just didn't accept traditional knowledge as a knowledge system. And within that, the turmeric was the first one, but Basmati battle I fought in 1998. So it was a very special year for me. You are right, absolutely.
So, and in 1898, Bose did what he did, and in 1998 you did. So from Bose to Basmati, from 1898 to 1998. 1998 also seems to be an interesting year, because AIMA pioneered, in a way, the Public Service Excellence Award that you are getting now.
Yes. I must make a special mention about this, by the way, because this is not a public knowledge at all, and I'm disclosing this for the first time. I have my biography in Marathi. It is called Durdamya Ashavadi, Dangerous Optimist. But there also I have not mentioned about it. So this is a disclosure for the first time. What happened was, I was Director General of CSIR, but also Secretary to Government of India, of Department of Industrial and Scientific Research. And as I became senior, I became member of the core group of secretaries. And there was one discussion about how to incentivize civil servants. Okay? And I remember, as a, being a scientist, among those civil servants, I was like a bull in the china shop. I will say things which they go by the rule book, and for science, we have to break the rule book to create new knowledge, So my attitude and etc. was different. And I frankly spoke and said, look, AIMA, and I referred to S.R. Rao, who transformed Surat, if you remember. And AIMA had the wisdom to start honoring public service people, including civil servants. And that was pioneered in 1998. You are absolutely right. So I mentioned that. And I said, in the country, there is only one organization, AIMA, which honors public servants. And we must do that. We must appreciate somebody who has not followed the rule book but has gone out of the rule book and done something else. And I remember there was a civil servant, Vishesh, sitting on this side, old civil servant. He said, Mashelkar, you don't understand. We are civil servants. Servant is the key. We are supposed to serve. So I said, sir, I disagree with you. And then I made some argument, but at that time, B.K. Chakravarti was the cabinet secretary. He said what Mashelkar says has sense. And they decided to create these Prime Minister's Public Service Excellence Awards, by the way, which are given on 21 April. That was the beginning of that. And then, of course, we had people like Prithviraj Chavan as a Department of Personnel, etc. So AIMA has to be credited for starting Prime Minister's Excellence Awards in public service, which are given on 21st April. I think that deserves a round of applause.
So you mentioned the great S.R. Rao who transformed Surat after the plague epidemic. Any example of government's public service award that you want to cite?
Yes, as a matter of fact, what happened was initially, those awards were given because remember, now today we are digitally empowered and you heard all the numbers and so on and so forth. But go back 20 years ago, where we were. So the initial awards went to something like Bhumi, land record, railway reservation, things of that kind. But then I said, no, what we have to also look at is this award is not for efficiency or doing something better. It is for going sort of out of the rule book and doing something which is special. So I remember, Sushil, one award that went to someone who in South India, there was this prevalence of cervical cancer, certain areas. And as you know, the tests are very expensive and painful and the rest of it. So you have to find. So one civil servant, as a matter of fact, found, based on scientific data, that you apply acetic acid and if you are positive, you get white spots, so as to say. There is a science behind it. And he covered some 1 lakh plus women, So he went out of he was not supposed to do that. But out of compassion, basically he did that. And we picked him up. I was a member of the committee, I remember, and gave it. So when we talk about inclusive innovation as a public service, I think that is something that he was doing. And I must again congratulate AIMA for giving these awards for inclusive innovation. When you gave it to Bankar Roy, that is what it was. He brought inclusion through innovation. When you gave it to Devi Shetty, that was what it was, and so on and so forth. The remarkable case, of course, is one where you gave it to D.R. Mehta for Jaipur Fort. And actually, I'll tell you, I cannot explain the concept of inclusive innovation better than mentioning Jaipur Fort. Okay? Let's sort of do an exercise. Here is a young man who has lost his leg sort of below the knee. And he uses Jaipur Fort. And I have a film which I normally show. And he runs a kilometer in 4 minutes 30 seconds.
Kilometer in 4 minutes?
4 minutes 30 seconds. 1 kilometer in 4 minutes 30 seconds. Can you raise your hands? How many of you can run or have run A kilometer in 4 minutes 30 seconds.
Is this on camera?
Yeah. None.
None.
Okay. I did that exercise when I was in Jaipur. Because Jaipur Literary Festival I was supposed to speak. And there were around 500 people. And 5 hands went up, by the way, at that time. Okay? Now, here is the significance. That Jaipur fort is an extraordinary technology, by the way. I can get into the detail of how they used polyurethane and other materials and the composites and how the flexibility and other things actually can come in. So it was excellence, but it was affordable. It was not $1,000. It was $28, $30. Okay? So 30 times cheaper, not 30%. And that is how he was able to do. In fact, I show the film where he climbs the tree with flexibility in his foot. He jumps, actually nothing happens, and he runs. Now, the significance of this is that there is a social inclusion along with this. Because when I was the chairman of Indian Institute of Management of Health Research in Jaipur, we got a study done as to what happens to those who wear the Jaipur foot. Because they are like normal. So they get married, there is a livelihood, they work, and so on and so forth. So this is inclusion in the true sense. It is not just beating 100% of you or 99% of you, because that is excellence. And that's why it has gone to 25 countries now, made in India for the world. So I think in this, affordable excellence is the key. If it is excellence, it will have market around the world. But if it is affordable, the people who have sort of no chance, as they say, and by the way, inequalities are growing, as you know, and it is not just income inequality. It is digital inequality, it is health access inequality, it is inequalities of all sorts, basically. So how do you dismantle inequalities? One of the great tools is inclusive innovation, but I would like to use the word disruptive inclusive innovation. What is disruptive? It is not 10%. It is tenfold difference. Like I said, no, that 30 times cheaper, not 30%, or creating, let us say, hepatitis B vaccine, which was created by Bharat Biotech, which was 20 times cheaper, not 20% cheaper. Or Arvind Eye Care doing the surgery, whose quality was better than the ophthalmic colleges in UK, for example, the 7 parameters. But it was done at 1/100th of the sort of cost. So we are talking about disruption, which is created by exponential sort of increase in the performance, but exponential fall in the prices. So we are talking about a different category altogether. I'm not talking about jugaad. In fact, I don't like jugaad, by the way.
I know.
It is getting less from less. We have to get more from less. That was the basic idea.
So you said Jaipur Fort now is in 20 odd countries. So inclusive innovation is not just for India. And our great friend, actually, C.K. Prahlad, who was also on the Reliance Innovation Council, had told us that if you make products for the poor that are excellent, the rich will buy it. And that is also we are seeing in the Jaipur Food case. So does that mean inclusive innovation is also sort of relevant to the developed world?
Oh, yes. I remember in that context, in 2008, I was honored with this Australian Technology, Science, Engineering Academy. And I was the first one, so I said they don't know India enough because there are more than 100 people who are better than me. So I want to tell them something which they have not heard of before. So I coined this term Gandhian engineering. And I remember speaking about Gandhian engineering because Gandhiji had two tenets. The first was there is enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. So what he was saying was that use your exhaustible resources so that you can get more from less. And the other thing that he had talked about was about the science, should be helping the poorest of the poor. So that is getting more and more sort of people who are at the bottom of the pyramid. So I combined the two and called it more from less for more. And as luck would have it, C.K. Prahlad and I, because I was chairing the Reliance Innovation Council, of which he was a member, we knew each other, and we worked together, and there was a paper in Harvard Business Review. Unfortunately, it turned out to be his last paper. And the title of that was Innovation's Holy Grail, More from Less for More. And what it did was actually showed for businesses, what does more from less for more mean? See, there are two things. One is you keep on becoming rich, and one day you say, "Arey, what did I do for the poor?" And you create a foundation or a trust. So this is doing well and doing good. Whereas there is something called doing well by doing good. Because doing good itself is a business. When you do something which is affordable, and there are a number of examples of that, that becomes different business. And how do we create that shift? And I'm very proud to say that that paper has been ranked among the top 10 must-read papers in innovation, by the way. And also, World Economic Forum, after our paper was published, had a special session on more from less. So talking about its importance for the whole world, when World Economic Forum holds a special session, that in order to create a better world, we require that, because inequalities, Sushil, is not something special for India. It exists around the world. And therefore, inclusive innovation as a public service, which is the theme that we are talking about, is valid around the world.
You mentioned doing well by doing good, and Udayji talked about Geo disrupting the digital services space, and I should not lose this opportunity of maybe giving Geo as an example then, as for doing well by doing good. Because if you see what Geo has done, it has not only changed the digital game, but if you look at basic human rights, roti, kapda, makan, and mobile as a basic human right, and now internet as a basic human right. Geo has provided that basic human right, and if you see, there is a lot of inclusion that has happened at all levels. It is not just about the 100 unicorns that are that India boasts about, which enjoy their scale and growth on the digital network, but it is also about how does UPI, which again got spun out of this entire digital revolution that Geo spurred, also helps the poor.
In fact, it's interesting. I chaired in Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics the lecture by Nobel laureate Michael Spence just last week. And he, in his talk, referred to Geo Revolution. He used the word Geo Revolution. So this is an interesting story, by the way. I must mention that because Amitabh Kanji kept on referring to leapfrogging. I don't use the word leapfrogging. I use the word pole vaulting. And the way it happened was that I remember Mukesh and I used to sit together and dream, and after the Innovation Council meetings, and he said suddenly, "Doc, we must leapfrog." So I said, "Do you know why the frog leaps?" So he said, "I don't know." So I said, "I'll tell you. He leaps because he's afraid of the predator, and he jumps a few feet, and again a few feet. Do you want to jump a few feet because you're afraid of your competitor? Or you want to pole vault? The size of the pole is the size of the aspiration." And that is where that book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, came up. But the subtitle is very important. The subtitle is creating the magic of radical yet sustainable transformation. And that's what Geo has done. Because if you see 2007, we were talking about ranks and ranks and ranks. Just now, while Sanju Bhai was speaking, we were 136 among 156 among 221 nations in mobile data consumption. Geo came, and within 1 year, we did not leapfrog to 100. We pole vaulted to number 1. And the rest of all the glory that you talk about, digital public infrastructure, etc., if voice not were made free and data was not 4 rupees per GB, that would not have happened. Am I right? The 2G, 3G era, etc., that we all remember. So I think the point I'm trying to make is that inclusion, when you have this, when you change exponentials of this particular kind, you also automatically have inclusion, like we had in this, and there are sort of other examples. Yeah.
I must tell the audience that I also have a great fortune of working with Dr. Mashelkar in his foundation. It's called the Anjani Mashelkar Foundation, and the goal of the foundation is really to foster inclusive innovation, to accelerate inclusive innovations in the quest of transforming the nation. And we also have many such inclusive innovators who are changing the game through disruptive innovation. Maybe you could tell them about one or two of our great innovations.
Yeah. Some of you must have been surprised as to why I dedicated the award to my mother. And I said, I am here because of her. Obviously, she has given me birth, so I have to be here because of her. But she gave me values, and there is a little background behind the foundation. See, I was in Delhi for 11.5 years as a Director General of CSIR, and every weekend I will go to the laboratory to do my research. I never left my research, by the way. And I have this habit of carrying some cash in my pocket always, no matter sort of what happens, like I'm carrying just now. And I used to give it to her, never asked her what she did. When she passed away, my daughter Shruti was organizing her saris, and she found all that money there with a little chit. Don't forget our roots. Do something, who do science for the poor. That is where this foundation was created 13 years ago. And that foundation does the following. We pick up awardees who satisfy two things. First is, making high technology work for the rich is very easy. Making low technology work for the poor, jugaad, is very easy. But making high technology work for the poor, very difficult. So first, the awardee must do that. And the second, I'm not a great believer in best practice, by the way. Best practice means you are copying somebody. I'm a believer in next practice, okay? Which should become the best practice for others. India must lead in terms of its innovation thinking and the kind of disruption that we're causing. I'll just give an example. There are a number of awardees. One of them is Rahul Rastogi. Young people. They're all young people, by the way. And they meet with all these criteria. His father had a challenge with his heart, and he had to take him out for ECG and all that, etc. So he's a smart engineer for Samsung. He said, why can't I create a portable ECG? And he created a portable ECG which you can carry in your pocket. This device. It looks like a toy, but it is in 12 countries now. More than 3 million scans have been taken, basically. How does it work? Very simple. You have two sensors here. You put your two thumbs for 15 seconds. Your sensor here. This is your heart. 15, 15, 15 seconds. 15, 15, 15 seconds. If you do that, and if you have downloaded an app called Sanket, your medical grade ECG goes to any great expert that you talk about. So this this establishes the principle. And there have been others. For example, eye breast. There is a challenge with regard to breast cancer. Okay, and then you have to have expensive mammography experts and so on and so forth. No, there is this eye breast that has been designed just $1, by the way, and this has done 3 to 4 million scans now. I lost count. More than 20 countries. In fact, Goa government just finished, I think, last week 1 lakh screenings, basically. As a and the other states are employing, and this is high technology. When the journal Lancet recently in an editorial rated this as the best non-invasive and most affordable high technology device that we have. A young Indian boy has done it, making a difference, So this is sort of what it is.
I must also mention the role of Tata's here. So he talked about affordable excellence, and Rahul was affordable but not excellent because, as you know, a medical grade ECG needs to have 12 leads, the 12 leads that come. And his device was only 6 leads, and Dr. Mashelkar said that nothing doing. Your 6 lead device is a healthcare grade, it's not a medical grade. The cardiologists are not going to use it, it's going to be another wearable types. So what do you need to make this 12 lead? And he said, I need some more clinical research, I need more field trials, I need some R&D money. And again, Tata Trust, in less than 2 days, came to his rescue, gave him, I think, 48 lakhs.
Yeah. I always say 48 hours, 48 lakhs.
So 48 lakhs in 48 hours. And now you have an affordably excellent ECG machine right here, right? So great role of philanthropists there.
Yeah, since here there are all business leaders, etc. You know what happens with these devices is the following, that they can't go to venture capitalists. You know how venture capitalists look at it. Not all of them are vulture capitalists, but some of them are. Commercial banks, loans, I think you know it better than that. So how do you get a chance for proof of concept, for example, or doing initial trials, etc.? And that is where when we talk about CSIR and 2% net profit, etc., there are provisions to do something like what trusts have done. And I can tell you, particularly in this space, where you do not see billion-dollar market caps coming up, but yet saving billion lives, basically, I think CSR must be sort of reserved for that. I've been trying to promote it, not very successfully, but it's very important because all the breakthroughs that we have had, they always get stuck on scale, finally making a difference around the world. Many of them, but there is one more point I also want to emphasize, by the way. I talked about affordable excellence. Excellence based on high technology, high science, breakthrough science. You know, I'm very proud to tell you that many of the awardees have their science published in the topmost of journals. Just 2 weeks ago, in proceedings of US National Academy of Science, an Anjani Mashelkar awardee figured based on his science. You know, Sanjeev, what it was? Leo Mauli has created a sort of a product where when you are bleeding, it stops bleeding in 2 minutes. Today, it has gone in 40 plus countries and large number of militaries, including ours, are using it. But there is a deep science. How do you make it happen? My challenge with the startup that we talk about is that just less than 5% are the deep tech, by the way. That is my concern. Okay? How do we, if India has to really pole vault, I will not use the word leapfrog, then we have to base them on high science and high technology. I thought that additional point I will make when I have the chance.
Another example of VCs and loans is another startup of ours, a very, very enterprising, passionate youngster from Madurai. And he has a device and an AI platform where you can save the lives of pregnant women and also child mortality because of risky pregnancy. And everybody's liking him, hospitals are liking him, and he's got orders now, and he needs funding. But he doesn't have the critical mass. The VCs are saying, show me the critical mass. Orders are saying that, okay, you need to come into the market very quickly. So essentially, he needs inventory money, and nobody's funding him for that. So he went to the Tamil Nadu government, and he said, this is what's happening. Is there a manufacturing program in Tamil Nadu where I can get some money to manufacture here? And they said, well, we don't have a manufacturing program in Tamil Nadu for you, but we have one with Taiwan, where we have given them 1,000 crores for Taiwanese company to come into Tamil Nadu and set up manufacturing there. Why don't you go to Taiwan, partner with a company there, bring that company here and manufacturing it here? And he's saying, sir, I'm sitting here, why are you asking me to go? So these are the problems of inclusive innovators. Where we as a foundation try and help them.
Yeah, but I would just add on to this. We are running out of time, so because I want to sort of have interactions and have your questions and also advice and guidance. There is another case I'll tell you, one of the Anjani Mashelkar awardee. Dengue. Once you have dengue, it takes a day or two to know whether you have dengue and at what stage it is. Dr. Khanna of ICGB created something by which you can know it in 15 minutes. And also at what stage? US FDA certified. US patents, nobody will buy it. Why? Because we're importing from South Korea, from US, and from Australia. Sanjay, then came pandemic. We ran out of kits. Then we went begging. Only South Korea said we can provide in the short time. The others refused because the time was short and volume was large. As luck would have it, that South Korean kid, those kids were loaded in the wrong ship which went to Africa. So we had no kids at all. So what do? As a last resort, they went to Dr. Khanna. Today, Sanjeev, that market share was 0%, it is 75 to 78% today. Would have been 0% if the ship had come. So I think there is something, I always talked about talent, technology. We have talent, we have technology. It's a question of trust. There is that cartoon, of R.K. Lakshman, where an eye doctor is examining the eyes, okay, and he sees a particle, and he asks that patient, should I take it out? I'm asking because this is a foreign particle. So I think there is a mindset issue. We talked enough about mindset issue. We must trust our young people who are doing that phenomenal job. I trust our...
Yeah, maybe Honorable Minister, just last question, talked about purpose. What is your purpose? Where are you going with this? What is your dream with inclusive innovation?
Yeah, I will make one statement before I say that. Basically, because the future of India, everybody is talking about India at 100. I'm worried about Bharat at 75. The kind of inequalities that we have, access issues and so on and so forth. If Bharat at 75 remains at Bharat at 75, we can't dream of that India at 100. I want to make that statement. Secondly, the minister talked about, rightly, wealth as well as welfare. That welfare, I don't want it to be just doles. We have to empower people. And this is the way to empower people, by giving access to education and health so that they can build their own fortune. And your last question, I will answer it in the same way. I remember in Hubli, Deshpande had organized something where Ratan Tata, myself and Narayan Murthy were on the stage, and there were some 2,000 students and parents and etc. And a little girl got up and asked each one of us, before you go, Sanjeev, go means go, huh? What is your last wish? What would you like to see? I gave an answer there, which I'd like to give right now. And that answer was, my dream is to see the smile on the face of 1.4 billion people, not just few privileged ones. And I believe that if we make inclusive innovation as a public service that we follow, and we may take high technology work for the poor and give them access equality despite income inequality. When we talk about raising the incomes, like in your discussion, etc., it is going to take time. It's not going to be easy. So income inequalities will vanish, not suddenly like pole vault. They will take time. But while that is happening, can we empower them so that they have all livelihood of the same quality or reasonable quality, at least functionally, as we have. So my last dream is that, to see that. I'm 82 and I'm still hopeful. People call me a dangerous optimist.